Hey everyone, welcome back to a relatively normal episode of Dev Parkour. In this video, I want to talk about the different levels of software engineering titles. I know I've been confused about what the different titles mean. I know in talking to other engineers, there's some confusion there. And it seems like every company has a slightly different way of defining these titles. However, by and large, the titles mean essentially the same things regardless of what company you're at. So I thought I'd use an analogy to describe how I understand these software engineering titles. Something that I also enjoy doing occasionally is cooking. So I thought I'd use cooking as an analogy for software engineering titles. So to start off with, let's start off with junior or associate software engineer. Now, if you're a junior or associate software engineer, in cooking terms, you probably need regular help with recipes. You might want to work with someone to make these recipes on a regular basis. And occasionally, they don't really turn out the way that you intended them to. Sometimes they just, they just totally don't turn out and you need to start over. Sometimes they're edible but just taste bad, and sometimes they're completely inedible. But, that doesn't mean you're, just going from mistake to mistake, obviously. You have plenty of successes, and the more you learn, the more you work as a junior engineer, the more successes you'll have. Sometimes those successes will just be by happy accident. You may have made a mistake on one step, but it turns out that it was a fairly minor step, and the dish is still edible anyway. But as you get more experience and as you see more and more things, especially more patterns that are similar to things you've done in the past, you'll start getting better and better. You might start your first few attempts at making sauces. Sauces tend to be notoriously hard, some sauces anyway. Your first few attempts at making sauces might just go spectacularly wrong. But once you make one sauce successfully, from then on, you start to get the hang of sauces, and sauces start getting easier. Even if it's a sauce that you haven't made before, but it's similar to one that you have in the past. Moving on to mid-level, this is kind of the regular predictable productivity area. So once you're a mid-level engineer, you can consistently follow recipes and they consistently have positive results. Again, doesn't mean that every single one of them is going to turn out just fine, right? You're not an expert yet. You don't know everything. You haven't seen every possible problem that you might come across. But most of the recipes that you make will turn out, will be edible. Other people will eat them. Other people will enjoy eating them, and they will look appetizing to them. But it's, you're still working from recipes, but at least you have that consistency down. That's the real key here is that consistency. You're consistently taking the information that you're given and turning it into a product. Once you get to senior, you have a little bit more experience, expertise. You're more of an expert, and you can start to write your own recipes. So you might have made a recipe that you really liked in the past, but you want to give it a Tex-Mex flair or something like that. So you can make those modifications and you write up a recipe, and then you can follow it. You're able to write the recipes. You're even able to give those recipes to other people. They're able to make them successfully. You have that communication down. And that's kind of the key here is both the synthesis of new recipes and the communication, so that other people can make those recipes, and or you can help other people make those recipes. So often a junior and a senior paired together in the coding world, that's a very successful pairing. In the cooking world, that's also a very successful pairing. That's something that is done in kitchens. a senior level chef, but not like an executive chef or a chef owner of a restaurant necessarily, might work with a junior chef while they're training, to be a mid-level chef. Then beyond that, different companies have different titles beyond senior. The one that tends to be fairly consistent is something called principal. And I like to think of principal as you don't need recipes anymore. You understand food and how all the ingredients work together, how different spices interact, how different spices taste, how different spices relate to different cuisines from around the world. And you're able to just cook a recipe on the fly, cook a meal, cook a dish, kind of on the fly. You don't need recipes, right? You know the different ingredients. You know some foundations, so like what a roux is and how to use that for building sauces on top of it. The basic ingredients that go into breads and cakes, and what makes cakes cakey and breads, stretchy, more stretchy. The more the consistency of bread dough. You know what ratios work well together, so you know how to blend enough eggs with enough oil, with enough water, with enough flour, for instance. If you're going that direction, by the way, that's basically how to make a cake. And you know when something's done by how it smells, not necessarily by a timer, but sometimes you still use a timer just to remind yourself, especially if it's something that's going to take a while. But you might be able to just walk by the stove, smell that it smells done, take it out of the oven, and it's done. Or you just let something cook until it looks right. You don't set a timer. You don't cook it until 5 minutes have passed. You look at it until it looks the right consistency. But sometimes you still do double check, right? That doesn't mean you're just winging it the whole time. And in software engineering, that means that you might just try something. You don't necessarily know what something's going to look like at the end. You just know that it looks bad right now. You're going to change some code, and you hope that it puts you in the right direction, but you have enough experience under your belt that you can look at where you are. Every time you write a line of code, you can look at where you are and see if there's a reason to continue going down the path that you're going, or if you need to pivot and change course. So that's my basically software engineering titles explained in terms of cooking. If you have another analogy that you really like, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If all my talk of cooking made you hungry and you want some recipes, you can also leave a comment down below. I'm not necessarily an expert in all areas of cooking, but I do enjoy cooking, and I do have a couple recipes or suggestions that I can give you. If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Please subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell. I really appreciate everything that you guys do. This channel wouldn't be here without you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.